You saw the title, and instantly it pulled you in. It's raw, it's bold, it's unfiltered. But here's the truth. This isn't just about sex. It's not just about technique. This is about something far deeper. This is about how you show up in intimacy, how you honor your partner, how you create trust, and how you give yourself fully to another human being without holding back. When we talk about the best way to do anything sexually, we're not really talking about physical tricks. We're talking about presence, about energy, about the decision to show up with the intention of making your partner feel seen, safe, desired, and completely free to let go. Because the truth is, intimacy is not mechanical. It's emotional, it's psychological, it's spiritual. You could memorize every technique in the world, but if you don't bring presence, passion, and respect to the moment, it won't matter. The best way is simple, but it's not easy. The best way is to slow down, to listen, to notice her body, her breathing, her sounds, her movements. The best way is to make it about her, not about what you want to prove or how long you can last. It's about generosity. It's about devotion. It's about removing the ego and replacing it with love. Let me tell you something most people forget. Women remember the way you make them feel, not the checklist of things you did. They don't forget when you made them feel safe. They don't forget when you made them feel beautiful. They don't forget when you took your time instead of rushing. They don't forget when you treated their pleasure like it was the most important thing in the world. And the reason they don't forget is because that's rare. It's rare to meet someone who's willing to slow down, to listen, to give without keeping score. It's rare to meet someone who doesn't just touch your body but also touches your heart at the same time. That's what the best way really means. It's not about a tongue, or a rhythm, or a trick. It's about presence. It's about patience. It's about creating an environment where she can completely let go and surrender to the moment. And here's the kicker. When you show up like this, when you give with that kind of intensity and focus, it changes you, too. Because suddenly you realize intimacy is not something you do to someone, it's something you create with someone. And that realization shifts everything. It turns sex into connection. It turns passion into trust. It turns desire into love. So the best way? It's simple. Love her. Respect her. Be curious about her. Pay attention. Take your time. Let her lead with her body and you follow with your devotion. That's the kind of intimacy that gets remembered forever. Because at the end of the day, people forget what you said, they forget what you did, but they never forget the way you made them feel. And if you can make her feel safe, seen, and celebrated, trust me, she will never, ever forget you. Everybody wants to know the secret move. The magic trick. The technique that will make someone gasp, tremble, and never forget you. But let me tell you something that most people don't want to hear. It's not about technique. You can learn 100 different moves, copy things you've read online, or repeat something that worked with someone else, but if you are not present, it will never matter. Presence is the one thing that separates an ordinary experience from an unforgettable one. Presence is when your mind isn't drifting, your attention isn't split, your ego isn't in the way. It's when every ounce of you, your focus, your energy, your intention, is directed at her in that moment. That's what creates electricity. That's what makes someone feel seen, wanted, and safe enough to let go completely. Think about this. How many times in life do we actually feel that someone is fully with us? Not half listening, not distracted by their phone, not going through the motions, but completely there. It's rare, isn't it? And because it's rare, it's unforgettable. When you bring presence to intimacy, you're giving her a gift that most people never give, the gift of being fully seen and fully prioritized. And women notice. They notice when you're rushing. They notice when you're performing instead of connecting. They notice when your mind is somewhere else, even if your body is right there. But they also notice the opposite. They notice when you slow down. They notice when you pay attention to the rhythm of their breathing, the changes in their body language, the sounds that slip out without words. They notice when you're not trying to show off, but instead trying to connect. That's when the walls come down. That's when trust builds. That's when intimacy deepens. Presence communicates value. It says, you matter enough for me to give you my full attention. And when you do that, you're not just creating pleasure, you're creating safety. You're telling her, in this moment, it's all about you. That is more powerful than any trick or technique you could ever learn. Here's the kicker. Presence takes discipline. It's not easy to quiet your mind. It's not easy to let go of ego, of expectation, of self-consciousness. It takes practice to stop performing and start being. But once you learn to anchor yourself in the moment, everything changes. You become tuned into every subtle shift in her body. You notice things most men miss. You become responsive instead of robotic. And that is what makes intimacy not just physical, but emotional and unforgettable. So if you want the truth, here it is. The best way is not a trick. It's not a step-by-step routine. It's your presence. It's your focus. It's your willingness to put your ego aside and pour your full energy into her. That's the move she will never forget, because presence is the most powerful technique of all. We live in a culture that worships speed. Fast food, fast results, fast everything. We're told quicker is better, that urgency equals passion, and that rushing somehow shows desire. But when it comes to intimacy, nothing could be further from the truth. The best way is not about speed. It's about patience. It's about slowing down so much that the moment becomes magnetic, unforgettable, and powerful. Patience is not weakness. It's not hesitation. It's mastery. Think about it. Anyone can rush. Anyone can move fast. But slowing down requires control. It requires intention. It requires you to fight against the impulse to hurry toward an outcome, and instead choose to savor the journey. That's what separates an ordinary encounter from an extraordinary one. Here's the truth. Women don't bloom under pressure. Desire doesn't explode instantly, it builds gradually, like a fire. And a fire needs oxygen. It needs time. It needs fuel. That's what patience gives her. The space to relax, to open, to feel safe enough to surrender to the experience. Without patience, everything feels forced. With patience, everything feels natural. When you slow down, you create anticipation. And anticipation is one of the most powerful aphrodisiacs in the world. Anticipation says, I'm not rushing this, because you're worth every second. Anticipation makes every touch, every kiss, every pause feel amplified. It's like stretching time itself, making the moment feel bigger, deeper, and more intense. But here's why so many men struggle with patience. It requires you to let go of ego. Ego says, prove yourself. Show off. Perform. Ego rushes. But presence and patience say, this isn't about me, this is about you. And when you slow down for her, you're communicating devotion. You're telling her without words that her pleasure, her experience, her comfort are more important than your impulses. And let me tell you something, women never forget that. They never forget the man who took his time. They never forget the man who wasn't in a hurry to finish, but instead was committed to savoring the experience. They never forget the man who gave them the gift of patience, because patience translates as respect. And respect is sexy. Respect builds trust. Respect unlocks the kind of intimacy that most people never experience. Think about the moments in your own life that stand out the most. Were they rushed? No, they were moments where time seemed to slow down, where everything else faded away, and you felt completely immersed. That's what patience creates in intimacy, immersion. The kind of experience that lingers long after it's over. So the best way, it's not about rushing, not about getting to the end, not about proving anything. The best way is about slowing down, about being patient enough to let the moment unfold naturally. Because in patience, she feels valued. In patience, she feels safe. And in patience, she experiences pleasure in a way she will never, ever forget. The most powerful form of communication doesn't happen with words. It happens in silence. It happens in the unspoken signals of the body, the subtle shifts, the changes in breathing, the quiet sounds that slip out before the mind even catches up. And when it comes to intimacy, those signals are everything. Here's the truth. You don't need a script. You don't need her to hand you instructions. Her body is already speaking to you in real time, if only you're willing to listen. The way her chest rises faster when she's excited. The way her hips shift to draw you closer. The way her hands reach or push, the way her breath catches in her throat. Those are not accidents. Those are messages. And the man who pays attention to those messages is the man she never forgets. Most men miss this. Why? Because they're stuck in their heads. They're trying to remember something they read. They're too busy performing, trying to impress, instead of actually paying attention. But performance disconnects you. Listening connects you. Listening is about tuning out the noise in your own head and tuning into her body like it's the only sound in the room. And here's where presence meets sensitivity. When you're truly listening, you don't just notice her body, you respond to it. You adjust. You shift with her. You move in sync like you're dancing to music only the two of you can hear. That's when intimacy becomes fluid. That's when it stops feeling mechanical and starts feeling magical. Listening also builds trust. Because when she realizes she doesn't have to explain everything, when she feels you're already attuned to her, she feels safe. She feels cared for. She feels understood without having to ask. That's what makes her walls come down. That's what allows her to surrender fully to the moment. Think about this. How many people in her life actually listen? Not just nodding their head, waiting for their turn to talk, but truly, deeply listening. Almost none. And that's why intimacy becomes unforgettable when you give her that gift. Because you're not just listening to her body, you're telling her, I see you. I hear you. I'm paying attention. The best way isn't about a checklist. It's not about following a routine. It's about creating a feedback loop with her body. It's about letting her guide you through her reactions, and you adjusting in real time. That's the difference between someone who touches her body and someone who connects with her soul. So the next time you're with her, don't just do, listen. Don't just act, observe. Don't just push forward, respond. Because the man who listens to her body without words is the man she will never forget. Let me tell you something most people don't understand. Great intimacy is not about what you take, it's about what you give. The most unforgettable experiences don't come from selfishness, they come from generosity. And generosity, when it comes to intimacy, is the ultimate turn-on. Generosity is not just about actions. It's about mindset. It's about walking into that moment with the intention to give, to pour energy into your partner, to make their pleasure the priority. That doesn't mean you ignore yourself. It means you understand that when you give fully, you create a space where both of you receive more than you could ever imagine. Because here's the paradox. The more you focus on giving, the more powerful the connection becomes, and the more you ultimately get in return. But here's the truth. Most men approach intimacy like a transaction. They keep score. They think in terms of balance. I do this, then I get that. That's not generosity. That's negotiation. And negotiation never creates passion, it creates pressure. Women don't remember the man who kept score. They remember the man who gave freely. They remember the man who made them feel like their pleasure wasn't just part of the experience, it was the experience. Generosity communicates something words can't. That you care. That you're invested. That her happiness matters as much, if not more, than your own. And when she feels that kind of devotion, something shifts inside her. She relaxes. She trusts. She opens herself fully, because she knows she's with someone who isn't taking, but giving. That's when intimacy becomes unforgettable. Think of generosity as energy. When you approach her with a giving energy, she feels it instantly. It's not rushed. It's not forced. It's patient. It's present. It's devoted. And here's the kicker. Generosity is sexy because it shows mastery. It shows you have control over yourself. That you're not ruled by impulse or ego, but by choice. And choice is powerful. Choice says, I am here for you. I am giving to you because I want to, not because I have to. That's magnetic. And let's not forget, generosity creates a cycle. When you give, you inspire her to give back. When she feels cherished, she wants to reciprocate with the same intensity. That's when intimacy becomes explosive, not because you demanded it, but because you set the tone with generosity. So remember this, the ultimate turn-on isn't a trick, a move, or a technique. It's generosity. It's showing up with the mindset of giving, of devotion, of pouring your energy into her without keeping score. That's what makes you unforgettable. That's what makes her remember you long after the moment has passed. Because in the end, she won't forget how good you looked, or even what you did, she will never forget how you made her feel. And generosity is the feeling that lasts forever. If there's one thing that matters more than any move, more than any technique, more than any physical act you could ever do, it's this: trust. Without trust, intimacy is shallow. Without trust, connection is fragile. Without trust, pleasure is limited. But when trust is there, when emotional safety is built, intimacy becomes limitless. It becomes unforgettable. Here's the truth. For a woman to fully surrender, she has to feel safe. Safe in her body, safe in her emotions, safe with you. If she feels judged, pressured, or rushed, her walls will stay up. Her guard will remain in place. And you will never reach the depth of intimacy you're capable of creating together. But if she feels safe, if she feels valued, if she knows she can open herself without fear, then she will give you all of her, body, mind, and soul. Emotional safety doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts in the way you treat her outside of it. Do you listen when she talks? Do you keep your promises? Do you respect her boundaries? Do you show up consistently? Every one of those things adds a brick to the foundation of trust. Because when she knows she can rely on you in the little things, she feels safe to rely on you in the most intimate things. Safety is not about weakness. It's about strength. It takes strength to be patient. It takes strength to handle her vulnerability with care. It takes strength to show her that you're not just there for your own satisfaction, but for her fulfillment. And that strength is what allows her to relax, to let go, and to experience levels of pleasure and intimacy she may have never reached before. Think about it. When she trusts you, she doesn't hold back. She doesn't second guess. She doesn't guard herself. Trust gives her permission to feel free, free to express, free to explore, free to surrender. And that freedom is where the magic happens. That's where intimacy becomes something she will never forget. But here's the mistake most men make. They think trust is automatic. They think it's given. It's not. Trust is earned. It's built through your actions, through your consistency, through the way you carry yourself every single day. And once you have it, you protect it. Because if you break it, everything else falls apart. So what's the best way? It's not just about what you do with your body, it's about the emotional safety you create with your presence, your patience, your honesty, and your respect. Because when she feels safe with you, when she feels she can trust you completely, she doesn't just give you her body, she gives you her heart. And that, more than anything else, is what makes intimacy unforgettable.